Hello, church. Thank you for joining me. We're in this series, Unfiltered, and we're talking about the hard sayings of Jesus. And today we're going to be looking at Jesus putting on ear or turning upside down the idea of what a leader is. Now, we live in an ambitious world. We want to know who's the best, fastest, smartest, strongest, loudest, longest, the richest. That's why the Guinness Book of World Records is at the top of the bestseller list every year. Despite what you may think, ambition itself is not evil. If you don't have any ambition, why bother getting out of bed in the morning? You might as well just turn over and sleep all day. No ambition. Ambition is merely a strong desire regarding the future. It can be positive or negative, good or bad, righteous or evil. It can be very useful if we are ambitious for the right thing. What are you ambitious for? What are your ambitions? What do you dream about? What are your secret hopes for your life? So we're going to look at this conversation between a mom, two sons, and Jesus. Matthew 20, verse 20 and 21. Then the mother of James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus with her sons. She knelt respectfully to ask a favor. "What is your request?" he asked. She replied, "In your kingdom, please let my two sons sit in places of honor next to you, one on your right and the other on your left." This event is actually recorded also in the book of Mark. It occurs near the end of Jesus's ministry. In fact, it takes place about 1 week before the crucifixion. And his disciples are walking with Jesus towards Jerusalem. Now, while Jesus is coming to grips with the bloody death that looms before him, his top men are angling for a better seat in the kingdom. All this mom really wanted was for her kids to do well and get ahead in life. It's interesting that many commentators suggest that this mother of Zebedee's sons was also the sister of Mary, the mother of Jesus. Now, if this is true, and it may be, or we don't really know for sure, then James and John are first cousins to Jesus, and she is Jesus's aunt. Now, if that is the case, then possibly she thought Jesus would take care of her own family members first, not the other disciples, but family first. In any case, it must have been quite a scene. So here comes this mom with her grown-up boys in tow. It's like, come on, boys, let's go talk to Jesus. Remember, James and John are full-fledged apostles. They are at least 25 years old and possibly even 30 years old. Now, the parallel passage in Mark chapter 10 makes it clear that the boys had the same question in mind. It's obvious that the boys and their mother had discussed all this previously. So she kneels humbly before Jesus and asks with great respect that James and John be given the seats of highest honor in the kingdom to come. Now, at this point, we come up against a danger all parents face. It's easy to want our children to fulfill our dreams instead of God's dreams for them. Have you ever been at a sporting event where the parents are just coaching the kids and wanting to do this and wanting to do that, reliving what they went through on the court? Often we try to force our children into a mold of our own choosing. Your desires and God's desires for your children may not be the same. Now, having said that, I should add that there are several arguments in favor of what this mom did. First, she clearly believes that Jesus will one day have a kingdom of his own. Not many people believe that. His followers were more like a ragtag army than a royal court. This mother saw past the superficial to the day when Jesus would reign on the earth. Got to give her credit. She believed when most people doubted. Second, it's clear that Jesus loved her sons. He gave them an affectionate name, a nickname, the Sons of Thunder. Third, they were among the earliest disciples. They chose to follow Jesus right from the start. Fourth, they, along with Peter, were clearly in the top 3 of the apostles. When Jesus was transfigured on the mountain, his only witnesses were Peter, James, and John. So why shouldn't she ask that her boys have the seat of highest honor? After all, someone has to sit on Jesus' right hand and someone on his left. It couldn't hurt to ask in advance. Now, if you read the other Gospels, it's clear that this was a reoccurring controversy among the disciples all the way until the Lord's Supper in the upper room, the night that Jesus was betrayed, the night that just before he was crucified. And then Jesus showed them what leadership was in that upper room. No matter what we may think about James and John and their mother, the other disciples wanted those seats as well. The basic problem is that James and John underestimated the cost of following Christ, and they overestimated their own importance. They didn't ask for work in the coming kingdom, which would have been a nobler request. They asked only for a place of honor. So let's see how Jesus responded to their request. In Matthew chapter 20, verses 22 and 23. But Jesus answered by saying to them, "You don't know what you are asking. Are you able to drink from the bitter cup of suffering I am about to drink?" "Oh yes," they replied, "we are able." Jesus told them, "You will indeed drink from my bitter cup, but I have no right to say who will sit on my right or my left. My Father has prepared those places for the ones he has chosen." Jesus doesn't rebuke the mother or her sons, and he doesn't deny his coming kingdom or that there will be seats of honor on his right and his left. Jesus, he just simply tells them that they don't know what they're asking for. Then he asks the men if they could drink the cup he is about to drink. Now, with commendable bravery, they replied, we can, very confident they are. Brave and honest and not very smart. Sometimes our perspective gets a bit out of whack and we forget our limitations. Thinking about our limitations, Muhammad Ali was on a plane and the flight attendant asked him to buckle his seatbelt, which is what flight attendants walk through. Buckle your seatbelt, pull on that, make sure that's buckled. He said to her, "Superman don't need no seatbelt." She quickly answered, "Superman don't need no airplane either." Limitation. Be careful when you pray because you might get what you ask for. James and John assumed their suffering was over and their work was done. Now they were wrong on both counts. Their suffering was still ahead and their work was just getting started. They wanted Easter without Good Friday. They wanted a crown without a cross. Jesus, to sum up, he says, no deal. It's almost as if he's saying, you want to be on my right hand and my left? Great. I'm about to be crucified and the Romans have 2 empty crosses. You guys want to make a reservation? Because when Jesus was saying, "Can you drink the cup I'm about to drink?" he was inviting them to come and die with him. Here's a question. Are you willing to sacrifice everything that is dear to you in order to follow Jesus? These are not words to toss around lightly. You only make this kind of commitment when you have found something worth giving your life for. Now the disciples, they started to argue among themselves, which really shouldn't surprise us in the least. I'm sure the other 10 apostles are angry with James and John for going to Jesus when they wished they had thought of that first. It's like, oh, I should have done that. Matthew 20, 24 through 28. When the 10 other disciples heard what James and John had asked, they were indignant. But Jesus called them together and said, "You know that the rulers in this world lord it over their people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. But among you, it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you must become your slave. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Once again, Jesus doesn't condemn his men. He uses their bickering as a teachable moment to challenge them to channel their ambition in a new direction. So with 4 simple words, he painted a different picture of ambition as well as what leadership is. The 4 words, "Not so with you." Do you want to be a leader? That's great, because the world needs good leaders. But here's what you need to do. Become a servant. Pick up a towel and start washing dirty feet. That was Jesus' example of what a leader is to his men that night, the Last Supper. Think of yourself as a slave and not as a master. In saying what Jesus did, he's offering a complete rejection of the world's way of doing business. Instead of using people, we serve people. A real leader asked, "How can I serve the needs of others?" Doing what needs to be done without making a big deal about it. Adding value to people. In verse 28, it summarizes the whole Christian message in 2 parts. Jesus came to serve us so that we can serve others, and Jesus came to serve us while we serve others. He's not only the example of servanthood, but also the servant who empowers us to serve in his name. Here's a wonderful truth about the Christian faith. What God demands, he supplies. Where God guides, he provides. The final phrase of verse 28 brings us to the very heart of the gospel. Christ gave his life a ransom for many. Now, the word ransom refers to the price paid to redeem a slave or to free a prisoner. He died for all, but only the many will respond in saving faith. Suppose you ask, am I included in the many? Is there room for me? The answer is always yes. You are in the many if you come by faith to him. You believe by faith what Jesus did for you on the cross. In the end, our greatest need is Jesus. It always comes back to him, doesn't it? He will meet all our needs according to the glorious riches found in Christ Jesus. We are helpless without him, but in him, all things are possible. So use your ambition to follow Jesus. Be a leader like Jesus was, as a servant. God bless you.